So this is our first Let's Get Real talk, and today we are going to talk about the expectations versus reality, what happened when we went back home to England.
We'll just get straight into it. One of the things that we didn't expect was how much our family and friends felt disconnected from us. Even though they watch us every day on YouTube, they didn't feel like they were involved in our lives, and that was a surprise to me.
Yeah, I think watching us on YouTube and on vlogs and us living far away, I picked up a few times and I felt it a couple of times that people actually thought of us as not us. Like, they would watch us on the TV, then we would go round to their house and they would talk to us as if they were talking about a TV show. Like, we're right there with them in the same room, standing right next to them, but they were talking about the vlog and they weren't talking to us. It was odd.
It was certainly an interesting angle that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like they knew us through the vlogs now, and we weren't the same people that they used to know from before. So it was a very different relationship with the people that we know from back home.
Like, we've turned into characters to them.
Yeah.
So even though we were with them, they would then say things like, "Oh, I'll catch up on the vlog later."
Yeah.
Like, well, you could just ask me now because I'm here.
Yeah.
But they didn't. It was like, "Oh, well, I can't." You know, they only know up to what they've seen on the vlog.
Yeah.
They didn't want to know.
Yeah, it was like when you watch a TV series on TV and somebody says, "Don't give me any spoilers because I'm about to watch it tonight." Sometimes that happened and it felt really strange because I was like, "Oh, okay, well, what do I do now? Do I talk about something completely irrelevant, so that we can just kind of interact?" The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure that nobody else apart from us picks up on this.
No.
It was a very strange thing.
I also felt quite often that people that care about us want us to do something that they know, that they have done, so then they can give advice because they've already done it. Even if they haven't done it, something simple, something simpler to what we are doing and what we're showing them and what we're trying to achieve with our own life, because they understand that. They don't understand what we're doing right now. It was irritating because I constantly felt like we were fighting against our own decisions, and it was just the two of us against everyone else. That's how I felt quite a few times.
This applies more to the older generation than to people our age, but at the same time, we can understand why they don't understand, but I don't think that went the other way around, in the same way that we could understand why they perhaps didn't know and didn't feel as connected because they couldn't give us advice and stuff like that. So it wasn't a two-way street, and it led to some arguments and to some misunderstandings that went a bit too far, which caused us to do certain things like move house and move around a lot so that we weren't burdening different people with our strange world and our strange choices and stuff like that. I think when you've been in contact with your loved ones and your family members for a very long time, it got too much and it got a bit out of hand and things were said that shouldn't have been said.
It got quite intense.
We're
just very different. Unless I change or Jay changes or conforms to what they want, it's not going to be solved. So the only option that we had was to just battle through it and try not to let it affect us too much, because we know the end goal of what we want to do, and that is what we've got to keep in our heads.
Something else that I noticed was things move at a different pace back in the UK. People are still doing a lot of the same things that they were doing a very long time ago, and where we've been away and come back, we can see that in the scale of it. But other people, they don't see that, but at the same time, it's what they want. They feel comfortable doing those things. It's the comfort zone. Jobs, relationships even sometimes. It feels safer and more comfortable.
I think fear is a big factor in England. In a way, I get, because while we were back, just for the 2 months, I started to feel scared. I started to feel I was slowly going back into my old life from 5 years ago that we left, and we left for a reason. I started to get those same feelings of anxiety, of fear, of self-consciousness, questioning myself. Am I doing the right thing? Should we just stay here? let's just get normal jobs and go back to how we were. This is silly. Let's just pack it all in. We don't want to do it anymore. Those thoughts did cross my mind, yes, because being in England, you've got a comfortable cushion around you of family, friends, everyone
Language.
speaks the same.
Yeah.
Everyone, you can talk to anyone in the shop or whatever.
It's
When
easy.
It's easy. And when you start thinking, I'm going to leave all this again, I did get scared. I was like, oh, I'm not sure, especially being pregnant. I had the security net of free birthing and doctors everywhere and family around, but I knew that I didn't want to give birth in a hospital there. So that another thing was a big thing that came up. People didn't understand at all my choices of how I want to give birth, but that's a whole other thing. But back to the original point, fear did creep in a lot, especially nearer the end.
It is infectious, it definitely is, and I can completely agree with what Sasha's just said, especially with regards to the language. Even being here in Portugal for the last few days, it is not easy to try and communicate everything in another language. It's not easy to learn a whole new language and to move to a completely different country and learn about customs and how things work and driving on the other side of the road. Obviously, it's hard, but that hardness has what's made us move forward with our lives, and that's why we convinced ourselves in the end, let's just do it anyway. Let's just go, and we'll remember why we left in the first place and why we're doing the things that we're doing.
Yeah. Another element that I picked up on numerous occasions is I didn't really feel people understood the scale of what Jay and I are doing or were about to do. We just moved from Thailand, packed up our whole life there, sold everything, left, flew all the way back to England to then move country again with Eden, being pregnant and starting a new life in another country that we haven't really been to before.
There were times when we would be organising the move, doing things like buying baby clothes, buying a car, getting insurances for abroad, just loads of stuff that was making us feel a little bit overwhelmed, and people would say like, what have you got to be worried about? You're not working, you're just chilling out, you're just going on day trips and stuff like that. And we're like, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
It just seemed pointless to say, well, hang on a minute, have you forgot that we're doing 3 or 4 of the most stressful things that humans can ever do at once? Even some of our subscribers said before we left Thailand, I'm worried about you because this is not going to be easy. And it's funny for people who have no idea who we are, have never met us, to get the scale of it more than the ones that we thought would perhaps understand it even more so.
But at the same time, it was almost like they didn't want to know. Like they didn't want to ask too many questions. They didn't want to delve too into what we were doing because they don't really want us to do it. They don't want us to move to Portugal. They want us to stay in the town where they are so they can pop round for a cup of tea.
Which is what they know and what they love, and that's fine.
It is fine.
That's
it's
fine
completely fine.
For them.
But I guess just because it is just me and Jay doing this kind of thing right now, it felt more difficult because we didn't have anyone to go to be like, how did you deal with this? Or there was no one that we could go to for advice on how to deal with things because no one else has done it or was about to do it or do anything of the sort. So it was difficult, and we did feel kind of a little bit isolated at times, especially if people would be like, oh, well, what have you got to be stressed about? I'm like, nothing.
It's pointless trying to explain it because by that point you realise that perhaps, like Sasha said, they don't really want to know all of that information because on some level they're hoping we won't go. Even up until the last day, we were having questions about, are you sure you don't want to have the baby on the NHS? It's free. Are you sure you don't want to stay, close to us? I can help. And this, that and the other. And I understand the love. I understand the care and everything. But what I don't understand is how the people that do love us can't see how that was affecting us and how hard it was already. And those kind of comments were only making things more stressful and more difficult because no one 100% knows what they're doing in life. It's always a little bit of the unknown there. And it just so happens that the things that we've chosen to do, just there's more elements of the unknown in it.
So we've done a bit of moaning in this video so far. Let's talk about the good things. Being back in England, it was good.
Yes.
Oh, a quick little moan. I wouldn't go back to England for as long as we did.
No.
Again.
Not unless we had our own place to live.
No.
I'm talking like not a family friend or no one that we know. We can't live inside their house. We have to have our own place. Being able to, we've mentioned this in the vlogs, but being able to be free to make our choices entirely, it makes the relationship between us and people who don't understand entirely what we're doing just better.
Yeah. So we did enjoy our time back in England. I had arranged to meet up with my group of friends in a group and on separate occasions, and I am pleased that I got round to see every one of my friends that I wanted to, some more than others, and to just feel normal again. Even listening to the advice that we did get from all different kinds of people, friends, family, young, old, we took something from everything.
Yeah.
That everything that someone said to us, negative or positive, we analysed it and we looked at it and we were like, why do you think they said that? Or we took something from everything, and it really did open our minds and our eyes to everyone back in England.
Even if we take the misunderstandings and the arguments into context, there was a realization for us that despite anything or everything that was said to us, good or bad, that is how that person in particular cares for us. It was always about care and it was always about love, even when it didn't sound that way. This person is saying this thing because this is how they love you. Yeah. This is how they care for you, and this is how they think they are helping. And in a way, that helped us to kind of diffuse some of the harsher words that were said and just kind of take the good part of it, the love and the care, and say, okay, I understand that. Thank you for the good part. No, thank you for the bad. And we're going to go and do what we want to do based on that. Now, we did actually have a lovely summer in the UK. It was really good. And seeing some of our closer friends and really connecting, we made time to connect with people in ways that we didn't do before we left to go to another country.
England is a great place, and we can actually see ourselves going back there in the future to live permanently. I was guilty of going on some property sites while we were back to look at house prices.
Not England, UK as a whole. One of the reasons why we decided to choose this life in the first place of working online and being able to choose where we want to live was exactly that. When we do eventually make enough money to be able to go back and live in the UK, we can choose somewhere that's perfect for us, and that is the dream, basically. I get the impression that some people think we're constantly running away from something or running away from problems or whatever, but that isn't actually the case anymore. There was a time, years ago, when that was the case, but now everything is part of a broader plan, and even having our little girl, having this baby, was part of this plan, so that we can be with them, we can see her grow, because we're both together, working together on this dream, and they can become part of that. We think that's important, and we think that that is an opportunity that is available more so now than it was in the past. So we're taking advantage of the technology, we're taking advantage of the opportunity and creating that world for ourselves. That's the dream.
As it stands now, we are very happy doing what we're doing, and until we're not, we will continue this life. Whether or not people understand it or want to know more, that's irrelevant. It's our life, and if we don't do it, then we'll just end up living someone else's life, and I don't want to do that.
No.
So
we are starting a new family here. Us, our dogs, and our little daughter. It's a new family, and we want to choose the direction that goes in.
Yeah. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I think just one final thing I wanted to say before we close this off was that I get the impression from comments that when we had our dispute in the UK, it was just about my parents. That wasn't the case. They were obviously a part of it, but everybody, friends, you know, relations, acquaintances, everybody had something to say about our life, being vegetarian, choices, home birthing. everybody.
Oh, yeah, the vegetarian
Yeah,
thing.
vegetarianism.
People had a problem with vegetarians.
A lot of questions were asked, and we don't really need to go into it, or I think you can get the picture. People didn't get the decisions that were made. It was a combination of everybody kind of caring in their own way.
Yeah, and also, I might as well just add, Jay isn't a vegetarian because I'm making him be a vegetarian.
Yeah, I don't know why.
So many people had that impression that it was me that was making Jay a veggie
Yeah.
because I'm pregnant and I didn't want to eat meat. Jay came to the decision before I'd even said anything and decided to try it out. So
I can't tell you the amount of times I've had to explain that to my friends. More so my friends, I think, yeah, because it was just, I don't know, I think as a guy as well, people think it's a bit hippie to be a vegetarian. They don't see any of the other health benefits. The first thing they see is like, why are you doing that? So I had to explain myself more than I wanted to.
must be the old ball and chain.
Yeah, must be. We think that it's important for us to talk about these kind of things, especially if there are people out there that are taking inspiration from the things that we're doing. It's not always plain sailing,
No.
it's not always simple, and it's not always glossy.
It's not easy.
We don't show everything in the daily vlogs, it's not possible.
No.
You know, you'd be watching 24 hours live stream. This is our way of covering those bits and pieces to help you make decisions about what you think is right and what is wrong, about what we're doing, and go from there. Right, that's it. So, hope you enjoyed this real talk,
Yes.
and we'll be doing more in the future every time things come up that we feel we can
Talk
talk
about in more detail.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, delightful dog. Enjoying the garden? Yeah. I have to say, I'm quite enjoying Portugal so far. Very pretty. Good girl. Let's take a picture of you. That's nice.